So I'm Sandhya Kapoor, and I am here with my friend Mehjabin Kapasi. So here we are today to talk about the cognitive developer, especially using enterprise Java applications. How do we make our applications smarter? Because we all understand and know and see it around us that we are in a cognitive era. You look at how applications are adding voice recognition or visual recognition or even making them conversational with the numerous chatbots we have around us, and even going further, enriching the unstructured data that we have tons and tons around us with concepts, keywords, entities, and then gaining insights into that data is where we are headed. And so no wonder we call it the cognitive era. And that's why we wanted to share with you today our experiences in taking enterprise Java application and making it cognitive. And it's a live application, so we would like to share data with you as to how it is performing, what are the glitches, what we are improving upon. So please feel free to ask questions as we go along. Let's make it an interactive session. All right. So there is a project, we named it Isaki, and I won't let the cat out of the bag. I'll let Mehjabin explain why it's called Isaki. So do you want to first?
Yeah,
okay.
Go through the agenda and then I can go.
All right. So here we go. Here's the application. And go ahead, Mehjabin.
So hello, everyone. And the URL on the right side that you're seeing, this is the live application, so you can definitely try it if you want now or later. We definitely look for feedback, so we'll talk about that a little bit. So Isaki, I'm sure you're wondering why this name. Is it another IBM acronym? What is it about? So we're still working on an official cool name for this project, but Isaki is named after the first Nobel Prize winner at IBM. Felt like a lofty goal to point towards that, so that's what we're doing. So I know over the past few days, at least I've been to talks that talk a lot about prototyping mindset, design thinking that we just heard in the keynote today. So we've definitely taken that to heart, and we're building this complete application. Design thinking is a big part of it, which is to keep the user at the center of that experience and then build the application around it. So we have this exercise where we map out who is the user, what is their current situation, and how do we want to, so what is the goal that we want to achieve and help make their situation better, which is the 2B scenario. So the as a situation today, the application is something that helps candidates who are searching for jobs. How can we minimize some of their pain points? They're trying to find out information about the company. They're looking in many different places to get that information, finding out whether is this company a good fit for me? Am I a good fit for this company? What type of roles I should be applying for? All of those type of questions are in current job seekers' minds, right? So how do we help minimize some of the pain points and help make that experience better? So our goal is that with Isaki, we can do that. We can allow Isaki to allow the candidate to chat with Watson and ask questions if they were looking for a job at IBM. How can they understand whether they're a good fit for the company? How do we help minimize that gap? And also whether the company is a good fit. Is it a good culture fit or not? You can go to the next slide. So what we came up with was a cognitive advisor. It engages the applicants in conversation where they can learn for these questions about a company's culture, all of those type of things in that one experience, have that available to them. At the same time, what it'll do is it'll also look at their information, either through resume or through answering some questions, that then analyzes and finds them best fit jobs that they can then apply to. And Sandy will actually talk to you about how we go about doing that in the back end.
Okay. So as you can see here, these are the Watson APIs that we are using in this application. So the first one is Alchemy language, and that is extracting the custom entities and keywords from the conversation that all of you are typing in, as well as the resumes that you may upload. So please, as we were mentioned even earlier, don't be shy to pull this up on your laptops or mobile devices and just chat with it, because it's meant for all the experimentation, as well as it learns what you are typing in, how we are performing. I'll share all of that because we are saving it in our database as the interactions. So going back to Alchemy, once it has extracted all of that information, it also combines with it custom dictionaries, because Alchemy as such is a general purpose natural language processing API. It doesn't know about the various schools in the world, doesn't know about the different kinds of degrees that exist today, and so on. So we built custom dictionaries to input all of that information to a tool called Watson Knowledge Studio. And then the custom model that was built from Watson Knowledge Studio was fed as a model ID to Alchemy Language API, and then it was smarter and could extract when a regular resume is uploaded as to where one has studied, what degree one has, number of degrees, what certification you have, what is the kind of work experience. All of that is factored into really aligning you with the job positions that are available in a specific company. So the next piece of the application is conversation. And that's an important piece because we are in an era of chatbots. So we have to have a chatbot that can chat with each one of us. Conversation enables you to do that. And we not only process the sentences that you're typing in, and you could be typing in just like I'm speaking to you, we also keep the context as we go back and forth in the conversation with you. And in addition, to make the application smarter, we use annotations. So when your input comes in, we do certain processing on it before giving it to Conversation API. And when Conversation API gives us what dialogue to return to you, we do some post-processing on it using annotations. So that's how the application is working, and let's dive into it deeper. So it would be amiss if I did not at least mention what we have been talking about, and that is Watson. So Watson is our cognitive computing platform, and it interacts with us like a human. It generates hypotheses based on evidence, and it learns as we go along. So there are no deterministic algorithms being used. It's all probabilistic algorithms in play in Watson. So that's essentially what is happening in a nutshell. And how do we make Watson available to the developers? We have it on our cloud. So if you were to go to bluemix.net, you would see in the Watson category on the cloud all of these REST APIs available to you. And what we are using in our application is this Conversation API and document conversion for converting the PDF or doc format in which you upload your resume into text that then Alchemy API, which is what I call Alchemy language, uses. So we are using 1, 2, 3 out of this catalog in our application. And we have made available to the developers on GitHub the Java SDK for making easy to use these APIs. So you also have Swift SDK, Python, Node, Unity, and .NET besides the Java SDK. So that's how we are making that available to you. And here's the architecture of our application. Just as all of you are accessing the app, accessing this application here through browser or your mobile phones, it is running on the cloud in an application server. So that's on the cloud. And it calls out to conversation with the input text that come in. Conversation in turn calls into Alchemy language, which has been enhanced with the custom language models. The resume that you upload goes through document conversion and sends the resume up for parsing to Alchemy language. And the Alchemy language is acting like a resume parser. So we have work experience in our resumes, the time interval where we were for each job at a company. It is parsing all of that using AlchemyAPI. All our interactions that are happening are stored in Cloudant. The enhanced candidate object, so the object for a user like me who is using this app is called candidate object. So all of the metadata, that is the enrichment, is stored as a candidate object in Cloudant. And also there is a jobs object, which is coming from any job database that you may use. We are using this particular jobs database. From there, we get the jobs and we enhance them also. By enhance, I mean add the enrichments, that is extract out the concepts of the jobs, of the requirements that each job position has. Annotate, by annotation, I mean keep all of those concepts and keywords as an enriched document in Cloudant. So Cloudant has two objects. One is the candidates object, and the other is the jobs object. So that's the overall flow for the application. Any questions? So as I was describing, here are the two objects. The candidate has school, degree, major, work experience, skills, location, email address, and a lot more. Similarly, jobs has the primary job category to which it belongs, what is the location or locations for that job, what are the requirements, the skills that are associated with that job, work experience that you would prefer to have for that job, and lots more. So we'll look at these objects in Cloudant. So here I was talking about annotations. So I just wanted to show you the code we have, and I can also jump into my Eclipse IDE. This may be easier for our eyes. So what happens is as you use the application, you will see that it will map what you are asking to an intent called find jobs. And when the application sees that your intent mapped is find jobs, it will use this annotation to say, okay, let me call this method and do further refining on it. So I will go into the database, I will get the enhanced documents and search by your interest. And here the CTX is the context object that is going back and forth between you and the conversation API. So this object has all the history in it, and we'll show you in the browser as we use the application live. And this primary job category is another object, PJCS, that is keeping the job category. So using both information in the context, the primary job category, and your input text, we will return to you the best jobs possible. So I just wanted to find out or point out how annotations are being used by the application. Once conversation says that your intent is to find jobs, we are smart enough to intercept in the application and do more work on it. So we can give you really the best possible positions matching your requirements, your interest, or your resume. Okay? If you have uploaded your resume and it's in your context, then we will do a better match still. So this first if was the condition when you did not upload your resume, you were just typing, I'm interested in finding a job in AI. Then we went by your interest. And AI was part of this context, and it was also part of the primary job category. But if you had uploaded your resume, we have parsed it, and then we will do a skills match based on your resume. So that's what is happening here. And there are many more intents like find internships, which are also circumvented using that annotation. So this is just to illustrate how the context, this is the context object. That is the primary object that is used to store information that you are entering and give it to the conversation API back and forth. So this context object keeps everything about the user, that is me, in it. So that's what I just wanted to point out is the main link to keep information that you are entering inside the context object, as well as get the enhanced information from the database and put it in the context object. So that this context object is really key in our enhanced cognitive application. So, and the reality is that you are talking to a chatbot after all. I mean, you're not talking to a human who has had years of experience and can process things in the brain on the fly because we have so much experience built into our brains. You are talking to a cognitive platform. So some of the things that you type, I mean, you may just be being funny, and you may type certain things that the chatbot doesn't understand. So they will all go into off-topic intent. And the off-topic intent will try to be very nice to you and may have these messages in it. I'm afraid, I don't know, I'm sorry, please forgive me, and so on. And we can even pick them up at random. So that is reality, right? So I also want to point out that we are calculating scores in matching the jobs and job categories. And we use TF-DIF, the inverse frequency, for matching how many times your skills are there in the job position we are mapping to. So this is just to tell you that we do the concept and keyword extraction of your skills. We do the concept and keyword extraction from the job posting, and then we see how many times this skill happens in this job posting. Your work experience, does it map the work experience that is minimum required in the job posting? And based on this complex scoring, we get the job score and the job category score. So we point out two things. One is the major category of jobs that are applicable to you. And then what jobs within that category would be most applicable, most appropriate for you. Yes, sir.
So the only interaction is through typing. I'm typing something and it's sending me text back, right?
Yes.
How far away are we from really this device was designed to be to talk to?
Very, very excellent point. And that's where we are headed, is we are doing speech to text as another API that we will pull in from our catalog. And you would be able to do voice. And that's not difficult, actually. We have done it. In fact, I had a project with DevOps community last year. And as a community project, we had used speech to text to talk to conversation.
Will it talk back to me? Or
Yes. No, we can have text to speech to talk back to. And that also was part of that project as well.
Watson API right now?
Yes, there is. So there's speech to text in the catalog that I pointed out. And there's text to speech, right? And then you can apply transformations on the speech to text. You can also train speech to text and text to speech with domain-specific language. So just as we have custom language models for Alchemy API, we also have custom language models for our speech to text, so that it is familiar whether it's a fintech world we are talking about or insurance world or anything else, right? So good question. Thanks for asking. Yes?
Well, you just mentioned about Alchemy API. I'm just browsing the proposed store here. Said deprecated.
Well, it's been folded into natural language understanding.
Okay.
So what we are trying to do is have a better cohesive service available to developers. So we make it better and folded it into natural language understanding, NLU, and that's in the catalog.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the same capabilities.
Yeah,
And
same
more.
and plus more, better. Yeah, that's the intent. So anything else?
How hard would it be to translate this for, like, one thing my university is trying to do is help guide students to pick majors. translated to that?
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, it is okay. These are the set of majors that are available today, and then they enter their interest. They could just be typing in their interest, or they could be entering some document which talks about the projects they have done so far, and there could be a mapping right there. Very easy to do that. And today, when it comes back with results, it comes back in a UI, not in a text form. So at least it is very easy to visualize. We will just see that. Yeah. Any other? Okay. So here is the enriched candidate object. So as you can see, it is, of course, when it was created at, but the main thing to look at is the user ID. So this is the user ID that has been assigned to each person who is using the app. And this is what ties in from the context. Context carries the user ID, and that will tie into the candidate object. And so the enriched candidate object lives in Cloudant, and context is what is going back and forth between the application and between the user and conversation API. Okay? So, and then of course, when the candidate object was set up, all of this extracted data, the city, the phone, country, school name, degree, major, years that that person has worked, all of that was filled in. So that is how the enriched candidate object looks like in the database. And here is the enriched jobs object, and you can see that this is one particular job, has the title of financial analyst, description, what are the required experience, which country, which state, city, and so on. So preferred education. So all of these are entities, custom entities that have been extracted out using Alchemy API. Yeah? And you can customize this to any domain using Watson Knowledge Studio that we will demo. Okay. So this is just to show you how we call on to the Alchemy API, and we would have the anything that we are doing with respect to this, get concept and keywords, that is just going out to Alchemy API and tacking what it extracted onto the candidate object. So this is how we are using the Alchemy API, just to illustrate that. Okay, so I will, before I show you the demo, I just wanted to share to give you a feel of, this is an instance of Watson Knowledge Studio, and these are the custom entities that we added. It does not know what job titles can be, what degrees can be, what email address can be. So all of these were custom entities that we added so that we could build the custom model. And then we also added certain custom dictionaries of different kinds of majors, schools, degrees, and job titles, so that we could then build this dictionary and the custom entities, and then the documents that were uploaded here, we trained the model. And by training, I mean we developed an algorithm now, a real live algorithm is now developed, which we call a custom model, which is pushed to Alchemy API using the model ID. And we will deploy that later on. So that's how you can work in any domain, in any industry, using this scenario. This application is quite complex. Somebody could be talking about a company. I want to know about your company. I want to know about the culture of your company. Want to know the salary range in your company, on and on. You could be talking about a company. And then you would say, yeah, okay, fine. The information you have given me sounds like I might be interested in your company. Can I try to find jobs in data science? What kind of jobs do you have? And so we would like to know about that candidate before we can suggest jobs. So we will say to them, well, do you want to upload your resume? No, I'm not really interested in uploading my resume at this point. I can tell you a little bit about myself. Okay, then we ask them questions. What is your highest level of education? Where do you have work experience? So tying the simple conversations about the company along with asking them questions, we could not design in a single conversation workspace. So we came up with 2 conversation workspaces. The main conversation workspace is related to the company, and the other side conversations are building your resume with questions we ask you, all right? Or if you upload your resume, then that is great, we will parse it. So that's why I just wanted to give you a feel for the complexity that can happen when you design enterprise cognitive applications. All right, so here is just a screenshot, but we are going to see that in the workspace. I think I'll just skip these other than to point out that these are what we call intents, right? So there's intent for IBM stock price, or there's intent for IBM culture, and so on. But we will see this in a minute. The main thing to show here is that when we are training our conversation API, we have something called intents, entities, and dialogue. And this is a very simple, easy to use user interface. So the objective here is that we want to make cognitive APIs, machine learning APIs, very easy to use and have them robust enough that they don't break on you. So, and we did this Java application development as an example, and it is live and being used in the world, just to share and show that these are production ready. So we define different kinds of intents so that we can parse out when somebody is saying, I want to know about your stock price today. Has it been fluctuating a lot? Then that stock price word will map to the intent IBM stock price. So that's how the machine learning works. And we train that a little bit, which we'll show you. This is how we train it. So if the intent is find jobs, then we will enter some phrases. Can you recommend a job? Do you have jobs for people? Got anything in? I mean, somebody may be really being very not in a mood to chat. So that person just says, have you got anything in? So the reason you see these phrases is just to train conversation that, hey, when somebody types anything like this, so this is parsing out these words. Anything that is related to job in it, you should understand I'm talking about jobs. And when it sees something like this, or even a resemblance to this, recommend a job, it will map my question to this intent. So, I mean, this is what is happening is that when you are typing in natural language sentences, it is parsing them out using NLP algorithms and building a knowledge graph. So that is what is learning. So that all the concepts and keywords it has parsed out, it has built a graph of it, and when some new keyword comes in, it references those knowledge graphs, and it is always learning. So like a child, we also learned word by word what our parents taught us, and we formed a knowledge graph in our brain. That's exactly the knowledge graph that is being formed in Watson. Okay? So this is how we, with just 5 to 6, 5 is a minimum number of sentences or phrases you should give, but you can give as many as you like. You are training and making Watson learn.
You do this before, you do this ahead of time, right? This is all done before you're ready to launch or whatever. But then after it's launched, how do you identify things that it just went down a rabbit hole and you didn't know what to do?
Yeah. So we have, very good question. We have, as I said, off topic, right? So if we cannot really map to any intent, so it will follow a sequence. And it also goes sideways. When an intent is mapped, then it goes sideways as well. But it follows a sequence. If nothing is mapped, then it goes to anything else, or true, or off topic.
I can add a little bit more there too.
Sure.
So this pilot, what we're doing right now is it's actually live on IBM.com US careers site, and we've been getting tons of data. Right, people are already trying this, and there are many places where we're getting it wrong or we're mapping it to the wrong intent. And so we've been looking at this in a tight feedback loop, going back, looking at the off-topic, like Sandy mentioned, and also just looking at these interactions and saying, okay, we just completely got it wrong. These are some other types of questions that we should go back and train. So we do go back and add more. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Exactly.
And I would think the text is somewhat limited, though not. English is a very large language. But
Yeah.
I would think conversation, audio would be even more difficult.
Yes, yes, I mean,
It would be very easy through audio to get people to end up in a rabbit hole, like, I'm trying to find out about jobs, but you're not getting me there at all, because I'm not saying the right thing.
Right.
exactly. So, I mean, that adds another layer of complexity because you have audio there, so the tone, the dialect. So we do have many languages for which we have the capability to recognize in speech-to-text API, plus also train for dialect. So there is training involved there too.
How fast is that feedback where 100 people got down this rabbit hole that they shouldn't have? How fast do you get this retrained so the next person that says it the same way or types it the same way, they get to where you should have gotten?
So yeah, I'll let you answer, plus I'll add something.
Yeah, so it's not completely to the point that it's super automated, that as you enter, the conversation workspace is getting trained. It's a little bit more complex than that at this stage. So there is a manual process involved where these questions have to be taken in, and we kind of address it pretty much on a weekly basis, where we take these, we map these questions that we're not getting them right into buckets of topics, and say, oh, you know what, we need to provide an additional answer here because so many more questions are coming in. So on a weekly basis, we're training this, and it keeps getting better and better. But I think we're getting to the point where we can start automating a good bit of this as well.
Right. So one is the training aspect. So any interactions, and we will see in Cloud and Database where we are storing all the interactions that are hitting the application, and also all the feedback as well that people are giving. So that is being looked at daily. Plus, we have a testing framework, a JUnit framework, that is also retraining and testing, retraining and testing. So it's a continuous activity.
I think we have one more question over there.
Yes.
I can address that. Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
So we're a very small team. We're about 8 people total. We have a team of 5 engineers and 2 designers, and myself, I'm the product manager for this application. We started in September of last year is when we really started taking this idea and started fleshing it out. We demoed this at our IBM conference in November, end of October last year, and we started the pilot on IBM.com just 3 weeks ago. So it's been a very lean startup methodology to take this further and keep getting user feedback. This is the same team that's continuing to enhance it and make it better. And as far as the impact to the hiring process, we don't have enough data and the timelines we still need to work through. It's only been 3 weeks, but you know, we'll probably start looking at that. That data is starting to come in of how many people are applying and how they are getting matched, getting that input from recruiters on how this is helping as well. Our first goal with this application, with this pilot, was to get this out there, have people trying it both on the conversation side, and then there is a matching side, right, to get feedback on, are we doing a good job with the matching or not? What do users think? What can we show at the back end that, yes, the matching is working correctly? So we're taking and we're tweaking our algorithms as we go. But I'm sure that within another 2 or 3 months, we'll have a lot more data to share on this.
Any others? Okay. So, and this just to show you an example on the screen, but we need to look at the live conversation workspace, is the dialogue nodes. So these dialogue nodes, they need to be expanded to show what they contain, and I will show them. But point here is that the answers from the conversation are contained in a dialog node. So we have the UI as I was showing earlier. We have this UI with the intents, entities, and dialog. So it is very easy to build. So that interface we have given to break the barrier for you to use any cognitive API, right? So intents is what you're trying to do. Entities is further qualification on it. So suppose I want to locate where all your company is. Where all the company lives in the state of California. So then with the entity, I can give the different locations for it, San Francisco, San Jose, so on. So entities are used to further qualify the location intent. So that's just an example. Here, it is to show that we have the UI for you to use conversation. So let's dive in, right? This is an example of a conversation, how the conversation dialogue would look like. So you would come in with certain mapping from an intent. You would jump in to whatever needs to be done. But I'll skip this because I want to show live. And I think I'm going through the slides because if I switch to browser, I will have to end this slideshow. So I want to go through this and then show this to you live. I think I will let you now demo, right? And then I can show live workspace.
What did I do?
Browser. Okay. Sorry. Conversation workspace is the tooling that we are giving you for designing your chatbot. So in that tooling, as you saw, intents, entities, dialogue. Those are the 3 tabs in that tool. With intents, you can define find jobs, IBM culture, Google pay salaries. Those could be your intents that we have defined. So that if you were to enter a text, I want to compare the salary range at Google with IBM. I'm putting myself in a hole, but just as an example. Then it will take out that your intent is to find out about salaries, right? It will map it to an intent called salary. And then you can have an entity on that intent, Google, IBM. So then once you are going through salary, Google, salary colon Google, so intent is salary, entity is Google, it will take you to a dialog that will have the expanded form. The salaries at Google range from XK to YK. So that is the dialog node. So all of this is in a UI, a tool that you can build very easily. So we have made that available, and that's what we are using. Yeah.
So this is the live application, and so I'm just starting to show. I know I want you to see more of the details of the behind the scenes type of things. I'm going to quickly go through this. So say I type in I want to know about IBM and brought the debug console here so I can point out what just tie it all in together. And this is the IBM conversation. There were 2 conversation spaces that Sandy talked about. This is the IBM conversation because they're asking questions about IBM, and you can see the intended map to here is IBM General, right? And then the answer comes up about details here. You can give feedback here and let us know, does the answer meet your requirements? There's always tweaking of the content that we can do and make it better.
And sure. Mehjabin, you can expand that response to show what came from the dialog node. So in the output text, yeah. So this is exactly what is coming out. What you see on the screen here is exactly what came out from the conversation dialog node, right there. Right? Sorry, it's very easy, hard, not visible. Yeah, I'm sorry. Maybe you can do Control plus to Command plus.
Yep, I did.
No, doesn't help.
Is better?
That's better. That's better. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, all I was pointing out is to tell you how this is working. Is that the response that came out from conversation is IBM is more than just mainframes, it's a worldwide company, is exactly what you see here. So this response came from the conversation dialog node, which we had put it in the tool.
I'm just making up a question here that you might typically want from to ask about. So again, this is just calling that back. This is the intent, the IBM employee review intent.
Right.
That it mapped to, because we had trained it on employee review. It picked that together and said, okay, this is what the answer is.
That just came up. Where did that data come from? Did you go to HR and get
Yes.
this, and then HR said this is what the answer has to be?
Yes.
You obviously couldn't make up the answer.
No.
Yeah.
You can
I
make,
mean, throughout your whole company, you had to go out and collect a lot of data, then, didn't you?
it is. I mean, it's still an ongoing process. I'm not saying we have answers to all the questions. A lot of the data is already on IBM.com that you would be able to find. So the only thing is you have to go dig deeper and find it. We allow and we bring it in here. We want to get even more creative with this, where we can probably bring in videos and multimedia and things like that. That would make it much more engaging as an application. But yes,
IBM's a big company.
absolutely.
Microsoft's a big company. To coordinate, what would be a correct response for 1,000 different questions?
Well,
So-
I mean, yeah, sorry. So, I mean, these questions are very high-level, generic questions, and we can go to or bang the door or beg one person or a group of people and get the answers. So it's not so hard.
It's usually
not
on
so-
it's on the recruiter.
Less bureaucratic for us, because it probably, for the answer we would give just to that question, probably would have to be like the head of HR and some administrators all agreeing.
Oh, no, it's not that difficult. Thankfully. Thankfully, yeah.
What would happen if you typed in, has IBM been sued for sexual harassment?
Type in, sure. Why not? Let's see. Yeah, and that's why we wanted you to play with the application. And this is great. Has IBM? What happened? What was it?
Oh, it just gave you a typical like a basic kind of. No, and as you know, it's something that we're training on, right?
And-
Maybe if it turns
And
out
if you click on the latest dialogue, what did it map to?
to IBM history.
So it mapped to IBM history. So I mean, it's somewhat semi-intelligent in the sense we haven't trained it for this. That question didn't occur to us. So, sorry?
I was below 30% confidence.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it was.
because it's not sure that
it's
this
not
is the right
sure, but this is the best intent it could find for that sentence is IBM history.
And if it turns out,
This to Google, sorry.
Sorry.
Did you try putting the same questions to Google or to some other engines that has some idea to answer this stuff? I was thinking about the training for unknown questions. If the answers are already there on the IBM, so we could say, "Hey Watson, I don't know."
Yeah,
or something.
sure.
Hey Watson, scan all IBM website and come up with the answers for these questions.
we may go down that route, because as you said, it is a hard one to answer. We can't answer everything in the world, right? Obviously about IBM, there's tons of information. What we could potentially do, one of the areas is to start linking them to to other sites or either they can go to that site or bring in a blurb of that so that they have some kind of news feed, so to speak, that comes in, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
could be,
So,
because
yeah.
it didn't, maybe it, there
So
was a
why
certain-
don't you type it and then we will see what it mapped to, right? Near San Jose. Yeah.
So actually, because of this developer console, you can't see it, but it's this way. This is how it shows. So it shows.
Yeah, you didn't type in comma CA.
Sorry.
It hasn't learned. Near San Jose.
Near California?
No, near,
Oh, sorry, in California.
not in, take out the in. Near San Jose, California. It's a comma, California. Yeah. Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, maybe it didn't pick up the IBM location
Yeah,
in this case.
so
which
it
should
just took a random
have, yeah, and
response.
it went into that because
It
it
went
picked out
into-
San Jose as the bigger point.
Because
Yeah, because it's a randomized option, right? So here it's saying I don't know how to respond.
So compare that to the first question.
Which one?
Is there so if he put just the CA and
Oh, sorry.
how would you go from 68% IBM location to 97% of off topic if you're just adding the state?
So location like San Jose, it just,
Oh, okay.
sorry,
Sorry, what?
So the other question, so that,
IBM location. It mapped to that intent, IBM location, yeah.
that was without the CA.
Mm-hmm.
And adding the CA in the end got you total different.
They might not have called it state abbreviation.
Yes, it doesn't know the state abbreviation.
Yeah.
That's why.
Wow, so how hard would it be to get that state abbreviations in there? I mean,
Not hard, not hard at all.
I'm just thinking real world, my university's not gonna say, oh, I'm not gonna be able to come back, so it's gonna take a week for us to get state abbreviations and if we forgot to do it initially.
No.
Not a week.
No.
It just will take hardly a half a day to get the state. You put in a dictionary of state abbreviations and then. The dictionaries that I was talking about.
Because I can easily see some of the students, particular students saying, where is your university, what cities are your university is in?
Mm-hmm.
If they can't answer that question, then I'm wrong. Or they're gonna say, is there a University of Kansas campus in Kansas City? And if it doesn't know what Kansas City is,
Then
then
that's not useful. Yeah. So that's why those dictionaries can be easily uploaded through Watson Knowledge Studio and baked into the custom model.
And I think it's
So-
also a little bit on priority, right? That's the most important thing that you want to work on, and you need to ensure that we have some certain questions that we need to absolutely get answered. We could go down the path. Right now, it's pretty open. Other chatbots also have this capability of just suggesting a certain set of questions and answers. Maybe we go down that path, right? Depending on what are the different areas and types of questions that we're getting asked. You asked about the previous question about sexual harassment cases. If a lot of people are asking that question, then we know that that's a priority that we need to fix, right? So we're never going to get all the answers.
most of your, it's gonna be extremely hard to anticipate really
Yeah.
what people are gonna ask.
Sure.
So most of what you're gonna need to bake into the system is gonna be after it's live.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's
Yes.
exactly what we're doing.
The ability to rapidly feedback into the system, say,
Right.
you know, and not only just the different ways of asking, near San Jose, or maybe I put SJ.
Sure.
California, you know,
Yep. Understanding abbreviations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can do that, right? With the dictionaries, you can do that. Yeah. Yes.
I get that it doesn't know CA, but it still knows all of the things that it knew for the previous question. So I'm still surprised that it lost the intent.
Yeah, I mean, these are independent questions. So there's like nothing of the, except some learning that it has done internally, nothing is carried over.
I'm just saying from
Yeah.
the text
From-
itself, it's exactly the same string.
Yeah,
The only thing that's added is comma CA.
comma
So I
CA,
get the fact that it knows nothing about CA, but it still knows everything else about the previous word.
previous question,
I'm just-
right.
So is there a way to see the path of both strings?
Yes.
To understand why?
Right, yeah, you can. So I can just go to the conversation workspace, right? And so here is the, so this is the conversation workspace for the IBM conversation we are looking at. So, and here inbuilt into the workspace, which is our tool, we have a way to test out. So our question was, what was our question? How many IBM locations are there?
No. Near San Jose.
Is there an, okay, near San Jose?
Not yet.
No, no.
Not yet. It doesn't. It can't detect your location at this point. Not yet. But it is one of the things we're looking at.
So it mapped it to off-topic intent. So the reasoning is, well, it's no, we would not be able to show that because it is, other than going into the code here and setting, looking at the data being passed, we would not. That's
It's
how we would
definitely-
debug.
It's
Sorry.
There's no logging that you can look at to say, okay, this
Yeah.
There
Right.
would be, and I think this is a very good test case for us to definitely try it.
So, I mean, we do have over here, yes, I mean, we do. So the interactions that are coming in here, this is one of the databases, and the interactions are coming in here. It's like this is the user who has done this interaction, his name, and so what the user, what state we are in is that it's like he have asked him to upload his resume. So, but there is lot more
I
interactions.
think they're looking, yeah, I think the question was, could we look at the interaction that we just did?
Yeah, I know. And because, I mean, this is one of the cloud in database. It's not
Right.
the one where exactly this instance is going to.
Yeah,
So,
for security reasons, actually, we can't share that database. So that's why we can't get to it.
But the thing about the reasoning is, how do I know that we tested and we saw that the problem is state abbreviation? So we ask it without and we ask it with. What is it?
Yeah?
If I just go with and it shows off topic with 97% of confidence, I would like to see the reasoning and where it failed.
Yeah, you would like to.
You don't even know what to teach it so it gets it right.
Yeah.
Because you don't know why did it go off topic. Until you know that, you don't really know what to feed back into so it gets it
True.
right.
That's
True.
Right.
That's why the reasoning would be important. Like I type that this and this is a match, or this is a match, or this is a match, so I'm matching this to off topic.
That is very true, and it is behaving that way because when I don't type in CA, it goes to IBM locations.
Yeah.
And so that is, so yeah, so I mean, this can be just, this is simple Java debugging as well. I mean, it is not just, it is nothing besides debugging a Java app.
But you're
It's
right.
like,
with
okay, what method calls were made? I mean, it is going through Conversation API for sure.
But here's the thing is, I'm using your technology on your end,
Right.
but I can't see what it's doing. It's a black box, right? I'm going to get something back, but I don't know why I got that. From my perspective, I'm doing this with my school. I say, well, every time somebody asks a question, they get back to unknown or whatever. Why? What do I need to teach it so they don't get that?
So here, I think we have hurt ourselves in the sense that if you did not have our app doing the pre-processing, so the app takes in the user input and extracts the entities out of them. So the app has extracted San Jose and California and location, those words. And then we are feeding it to conversation. So our app is coming in the middle to do that pre-processing. If you did not have that, if you were just using the conversation tooling, you would have the accurate answer. So it is not conversation that is messing up. Here it's the app that is at fault. And that we can, sorry, we have been. Okay, so in this,
I was building this using these services. That's the problem I see is I don't have a window into what those services are doing.
well, you do. I mean, it's not that you don't. No, it's not that you don't. So
We actually are out of time.
we are out of time?
Yeah, I mean, please go on.
Sure.
I think it's definitely a good question to explore, and I would love to do that. I think we're completely, we're at 12 now, but could we touch upon those in the slides? We could just quickly touch upon the upload resume and no resume.
No, you can upload it. You can do the demo.
Okay,
Yeah, you can do the demo. Are we out of time?
yeah, it's 12.
Oh,
We're completely out of time.
well, you can quickly upload, right? You can find the jobs, at least the jobs would come back,
Yeah,
right?
let's do that.
Just upload a resume and the jobs would at least some things.
I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay. That's what it was for. And that's an important point is the, it is,
Shows the possibilities and what the capabilities of the
I
tool.
agree, but I don't feel it's ready for prime time. I gotta tell you.
because of the logging part, you're saying.
A lot of things. I mean, I still don't feel comfortable that I could quickly get this retrained. Maybe I'm giving people the wrong answer because I'm not understanding the question correctly. I just think there's a lot of things here that we need to go back and say, you know what, we could really do this in our school. It would be awesome, but I could just see tons of problems we're going to run into that I don't have easy solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is, I don't know why you're coming back with certain answers, so I don't know how to retrain it so it doesn't come back with that pattern.
So, but if we knew why, and which definitely we do, it's just a matter of pointing out how you see that. But if we knew why, then we are on a clear path, right? Yeah. So it's just knowing that why. That's the reasoning, right? That's the key part. So we can.
Actual human beings getting wrong answers.
We add machines to the mix.
I mean, that's where we can sit down with that person and say, you know what, you're telling them the wrong information, here's what you should have said, versus this. I get this is awesome, but I don't know if we're ready for prime time.
Right. Okay.
So I'll just end with, we're looking for feedback on the application. So it's besides the conversation, looking at the matching. And what I showed quickly was how we take a resume and questions and answers, and recommend jobs that best match your skills. So we have 2 places you can do. You can give us suggestions on things we can do better. I definitely got one that we need to work on. So if there are others, you want to pass this on and have people try it, give us feedback, would be wonderful. Thank you for the time. It'll come to me, but I'll give it to Watson.
Right.
Thank you so much.